And so I sat to have a chat with legal practitioner Olisa Agbakoba on how much South Africans would miss him and what lies ahead for Mr. Zuma and the rest of Africa.
Mr. Agbakoba, thank you so much for speaking with us. Well, you say Mr. Nelson Mandela was not much of a political leader. Why do you say that?
I would say that Mandela was a great revolutionary, but I'm not sure he was a great political leader. He may have been out of touch, but what he mightn't have realized was that while South Africa, under a very mythical group called the Brotherhood, deliberately planned to have the ANC change their economic philosophy. The ANC's economic philosophy under the Freedom Charter was nationalization. So, when South Africa became independent, in the context of apartheid going, there was a debate about whether South Africa, the new government, should nationalize. At this point, Mandela had felt that they should change. And I think it was a mistake, because if the struggle was about emancipating the black people, and you go to South Africa today, you will find three groups of people. You will find the 5% of white, black, Indians, coloreds controlling 90% of the economy. Then the class under, of a mixed working class, but the ones underneath are those who live in tin houses. They're the ones who live in Alexandria. I've been to Alexandria. It's terrible. So, the emancipation of South Africa, having done nothing to free the enslaved blacks, for me, is a critical failure.
So it was more of a political emancipation than an economic emancipation.
The fact was, because I'm a student of South Africa, the fact was that the CIA played a special role. The CIA and the English intelligence actually advised South African apartheid government that they shouldn't pass the death sentence. That they might need Mandela at the end of the day. And the most volatile period of apartheid was actually when Mandela came out. And there was a struggle between Mandela and the president of the time. What direction? But for the killing of Chris Hani, who was the Communist Party leader, South Africa's story would have been different. And then all those white faces, all the Bonos and the David Beckhams and all those who came to give aid, where were they during the real struggle? They came in as opportunists, you know. Maybe may not be popular, but that's the truth. If you ask those on the ground, they will tell you they didn't see any difference. Then, as a compromise for not nationalizing the commanding heights of South Africa's economy, a program was launched called the Black Empowerment Program. How come Cyril Ramaphosa, Tokyo, and the others have become the beneficiaries? Cyril Ramaphosa, who is Deputy ANC President, is a billionaire. So it seems as if the whites understood that what they had to do was open up the process, bring in more blacks, make it look, good in the eyes of everybody, and the world, accepted it. For me, that's not acceptable.
Well, listening to leaders around the world, they've described him as a great leader, a child of God, a rare leader, and so on. But you say that, all of these qualities are good, though. But are they qualities that make for a good leader in Africa?
In anything you do, circumstance throws up a leader. No, Mandela was a leader, but he was not a political leader. He was a moral leader. The only person I see, in spite of my criticism, the only person I see that comes close is Gandhi. But Gandhi wasn't a political leader. He was never president, he was never prime minister. So Mandela's contribution was to make that crucial sacrifice or the crucial compromise when apartheid was about to blow up in the faces of the whites. Then the fact that they had not sentenced him to death became crucial because he played that role in calming things. That, I think, was his spectacular quality. Moral leader, very forgiving. They didn't throw people into jail. They created the Truth Commission, and all came well. But where the challenge will come is the post-Mandela era.
Well, then you could describe him as the poster child for the new South Africa.
He was a poster child for a new South Africa that wasn't eventually constructed, because a poster child for a new South Africa would embrace the blacks, the coloreds, the Indians as equal. The essence of deconstructing apartheid was to give equal opportunity to every South African. And I dare say that hasn't happened. The blacks are still downtrodden. They are still, in fact, they are in a worse position than during apartheid. That's the irony. I was watching the president, the Secretary General of COSATU, which is their own labor union, saying that South Africa, in terms of how blacks have come up or down the road, have actually gone backwards. And I would like you to tell your correspondent in South Africa to go to Alexandria. It is an absolute disgrace. It is the worst ghetto I have seen in my entire life. So that's why I say, Mandela, no, I would not call him a political leader. Moral, yes, because how can a man come out of prison 27 years and forgive? No retribution. Those are the qualities. And if you listen very carefully to all the Western leaders, they refer mostly to that forgiving quality. And that label as a moral leader, for me, is well deserved.
But looking at Mr. Mandela's leadership style of forgiveness, of reconciliation, selflessness, are these qualities that a leader in Africa are these qualities that can be embodied by a leader in Africa, and can it work?
No leader can have Mandela's qualities politically and succeed. If you read Thatcher's book, Statecraft, she makes the point that a leader must be able to back the orchestra to take tough decisions. And we've seen that across the field. People forget that Lee Kuan Yew is still in power. 59 years. But the West has given us this mentality and idea that power must be for 2 terms. If Nigerian leaders or African leaders can be in power for 30 years but do good, no problem. So we've got to find our own identity. We've got to find what works. What works here is not what the West says works. And I always admire China, strangely enough, in spite of it being an atheist state. They've had 3 leaders. The father of China is Mao Zedong, as we all know. The father of modern South Africa is Mandela. Now, let's all have a conversation in heaven and review whether we were successful or not successful. Mao Zedong told his people, in my brutal method to take you up and out of poverty, 50 million Chinese might die. And that is exactly what happened. But it was only when Deng Xiaoping came in that we began to see the benefits of Mao's xenophobia. And what happened? Deng Xiaoping said, we're going to develop. And he has done so relentlessly, and no country in the world has taken out so many million people out of poverty as China. 700 million people. That is an example. So don't tell me that Mao was a bad man, he killed people and all that. So I look at what you can do for me. And if you ask Nigerians, who will you vote for? would you vote for a democratic president or a benevolent dictator? They want to know, what do I get? So that's the context in which I talk about South Africa. I am very sorry that South African blacks are as dispossessed as they were in the 1900s, and that's not nice.
President Jacob Zuma at the memorial service was booed by a lot of South Africans. But could he be the leader that they need now? I mean, he doesn't have those qualities that Mr. Mandela has, but very obviously South Africa needs a change.
No, Zuma is a crook. He sexually harassed somebody. He got off got off his trial. He faced corruption charges. He got off. He's got all kinds of scandals. Zuma is not the kind of guy. And precisely because Zuma doesn't have what it takes to lead, that my forecast as an economic specialist will be to put all investments in South Africa on hold. Because there's going to be a shift. Potentially, and the best for